This is Danny Gilfillan for Seconds Out in Manchester. We've just seen Savannah Marshall be crowned the new undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. It's a pleasure to be joined by Callum Smith. Paul, just your immediate reaction to the win for Savannah?
I think it's a great win. Obviously, she's the champ now. She's got all the belts. And I said before, it could exercise a few demons that she may have had from the Marshall loss, after coming off that big loss on a big stage, on the biggest stage of your life. Great fight, but she just fell a bit short on the night, and I thought Marshall was the better. Shields was the better fighter on the night, and proved why she's probably the best woman out there at the moment. But that can all change, and I thought Savannah Marshall dug in tonight when she needed to. I thought she made it a bit difficult for herself a few times, but that's the type of opponent Franchon was, and in a messy, scrappy affair, she grinded it out, she fought it out, and she got the win.
As you say, a messy affair, not the easiest fight to score. I think the 95-95 scorecard raised a few eyebrows in there, and you think that was a bit questionable? Yeah,
and for me, I thought the right winner won, but to be honest with you, if I was going to score it and I'm going to score it as I went along, I didn't do it. But at the end of the fight, you have the general consensus. It was never a Franchon win. It was always going to be Marshall who won. But made up for it. She's a nice girl. She's a good fighter. She's got a great team around her up there with Peter Fury and everyone else, and Peter Clark and everyone, the lads in the gym. And she's doing really well. And long may it continue.
Got to mention it, we risk missing not to mention Natasha Jonas, another world title, another impressive performance, and a stoppage the boot. She's flying the flag for Liverpool at the minute.
Yeah, she is. She's doing great, and long may it continue. I've said before, hope she makes as much money as she can, with as many belts as she can before she retires and gets out of the game. She's been a brilliant servant for boxing and for Liverpool especially.
Who would you like to see her fight next?
It's whoever she wants. It's up to her at the end of the day. She's in the driving seat. She's the boss. She calls the shots. It's up to her and whatever she wants to do, and I think we're going to see plenty more of Natasha Jonas in boxing long after she retires. So if I was there, I'd be just trying to get as much money in as I can, or as many belts as I can, and usually the money only comes with the belts.
Your brother Liam here tonight, wasn't able to grab a word with him, but we still don't really know where his future is. Obviously he was meant to be top of the bill tonight, the rematch with Eubank Jr. The fight was postponed due to an injury and then sort of seemingly scrapped altogether. We're hearing from Eddie Hearn that they're planning to do Eubank versus Conor Benn in Abu Dhabi. What's going on with Liam at the minute? Do you know, Ben Salam says the Eubank fight could still be on. What's your understanding of it?
I haven't got a clue. I'm literally, your guess is as good as mine. I just get told what's going on off Liam, and I don't listen to the rumours or the jangle. Boxing's full of rumours. If you listen to them all, believe them all, you drive yourself crazy. So we'll find out whenever we get told what the real thing is, what's signed, what's agreed, and then we'll go from there and see how Liam is. Listen, I'm saying we's my brother. I'm not his coach or part of his management team. I'm his brother, and we all fight together. We're all part of the same team. We help each other, and we're all there for Liam. So whenever he's ready to let us know, then we'll all be ready to support him again.
If that Conor Benn Eubank Jr. fight was to take place in Abu Dhabi, whilst his UCAD suspension hasn't been uplifted, what sort of message do you think that sends for the sport as a whole?
Mate, I've given up second guessing about it. I have no interest in any of it, and I'm just sitting here back as an observer, waiting to see what happens. I'm very interested to see what happens, but at the end of the day, it's not really my concern. It doesn't concern me. It doesn't really affect me in my life and what happens. I'm interested in what goes on in boxing. I'm a boxing person. I always have been, and always will be. It's in me no matter what, and I'll be watching with keen interest. But to be honest with you, it's not really, either way. I don't know what's going to happen. And to be honest with you, I don't really care. It's not being nasty. It's none of my business.
I hate to bring up the negative topics because I think the sport is in a good place. We're seeing big fights in the women's divisions all the time.
It is getting a bit better. You're right, but unfortunately, it's always going to have them negatives. Boxing, always, in every different subject.
And it feels one of the negatives at the minute. It's the heavyweight division. We're seeing big fights just not happening. We've had the whole saga with this Joshua White potential rematch. I want to get your thoughts though on the news Tyson Fury versus Usyk isn't going to happen in Saudi towards December, and the sort of strong rumours are that Fury is going to fight an MMA fighter in Francis Ngannou. Now I know again they are just rumours, but this whole fighting an MMA fighter when the Usyk fight's the fight, what do you think of it?
I think we've seen it for a long time, haven't we? We've seen it as far back as the 70s with all them greats in the heavyweight division, Foreman, Holmes, Fraser, Ali, Norton and all, and then we see it through the 80s with the likes of Tyson Holyfield. Tyson Holyfield got made a long time later than what it was first announced. I think it was meant to get made in like 1990 or 91, and Tyson went to jail, and when it got made, they were past it. Same with Mayweather, Pacquiao. Boxing always has a knack of shooting itself in the foot and not making the best fights at the right time. That's why I'm buzzing seeing Spence Crawford and other big fights being made, and fighters willing to put it on the line when they're in the peak. they're the type of Leonard Haynes fights and Leonard Duran fights back in the day when they're both in the peak and both at the top of the game. But let's just look at it. The money's got to be right, and at the end of the day, it's a job. If the money's not right, the fighter's not going to fight. So it's up to someone or some organisation or organisations to put their hands in the pocket, make these big fights, and try and put the egos aside, the promotional loyalties aside, or TV loyalty aside, and someone could do it. Could be the Saudis. I think if anyone's going to do it, it will be them. But I won't hold my breath. I'll wait to see how it goes.
The Saudis are doing it with other sports, so maybe they could be the saviours of boxing. Last one, not long before you head out to Canada, confident in Callum's chances against, in many people's opinion, the number one light heavyweight in the world and one of the hardest punchers in the world, in Artur Beterbiev.
Yeah, and it sounds silly saying it, but I'm very confident, and I've been saying this from day one. I'm not just saying it because it's my brother. I'm obviously going to back him. I'm not going to say he's going to lose anyway, so it becomes a pretty pointless question, but I'm always going to give the same answer because I'm very, very confident in what I've seen of Callum and what I've seen in Beterbiev. Beterbiev's a monster if you let him, and he's very vulnerable, and if he's vulnerable and he's in there with someone like Callum who can punch like Callum, and he's got the timing and the accuracy and the brain, the smartness of Callum, then I'm very, very confident in him.
You mentioned Beterbiev's vulnerabilities. Obviously Callum Johnson had him down pretty heavy earlier in their fight, and a lot of people think he may have showed some signs of decline against Anthony Yarde. Do you think you might just be getting the fight at the right time?
I don't think there's been a better time so far, so we have to just take that as a positive. And everyone keeps mentioning the Yarde fight, and I watched it, and obviously I watched it and paid interest to it, and I think it's a bit of a false reading for me. You know, Anthony Yarde come out putting everything into them first 6 or 8 rounds, knowing that that's all he's got, and you can't fight a 12-round fight that way. It's a 12-round fight. You can't win the first 7 or first 8 rounds and then get stopped in the 9th and think it was a great effort, because if you haven't got them 12 in you, you're not going to maintain. And that's the thing with Beterbiev. He knows he can outlast a lot of people who come to fight him because he's relentless, but Callum's got them smarts and that engine and that fitness to do 12. His fitness and his work rate have never been in question, and that'll be the case in this fight. I believe it's going to catch fire early. I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think it'll be whoever's the better technical boxer who can land a better shot, and I'm more confident, as I've said time and time again, in Callum's defence and Callum's non-punching hand and Callum's power. Beterbiev's been down in there before. Callum hasn't. The people that have put Callum down, Beterbiev down, I'd back Callum Smith's power against all of them, you know, who's hurt Beterbiev. So as I say, I'm very confident. You know, I don't want to go on about it too much, as I probably have, but yeah, quietly confident.
The left hook, sort of known as Callum's money punch, and that's a punch that's had Beterbiev in trouble a couple of times. Just very last one, I promise. Ever so slight disappointment the fight hasn't landed in Liverpool?
Yeah, look, to be fair, but it is what it is. I understand how the game works. You know, it's a purse bid. There's nothing you can do about it. It was won or lost by $15,000. So it is what it is. Over to Canada and to Callum, a ring is a ring, and I'm sure he'll relish going there to win a world title away from home again, like he did with his first one.
Paul Smith, it's getting late. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.